Crescenta Valley, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Johnny Brookbank, and today I am sitting with...
Telly Tse.
Telly Tse. You are running for the...
Glendale School Board for Area A, which represents La Crescenta and Montrose.
Online, there's a ton of social media threads. They are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments deep surrounding you. This is a topic that people are very excited to engage with. So something I'd like to start out with is like a 30-second bio here. Mm-hmm. How long have you lived here? Where do you come from? How'd you get here?
I've lived in the La Crescenta area with my family for about 8 years now.
Okay.
Grew up, born and raised in Los Angeles. And grew up in nearby Alhambra. And when we got married and we had our first child, we're really looking for a neighborhood that was diverse and had a great school system. And Glendale was perfect. And so that's what brought us here. And we expect to live here for a very long time.
Plan to die here.
That's the plan.
You're running for the school board. Let me ask, what's your background? What is your current career?
After graduating from college, from UCLA, I went on to earn my teaching credential and master's degree in special education.
Oh, wow.
And so during this time, I started my teaching career working at a non-public school, working directly with students with severe emotional disabilities. And the reason why I wanted to go into special education is because there was a great need, especially for our students that are struggling in school, whether it's academically or emotionally. And because I saw that need, and I saw that as a place where I can really impact students, that's the direction within education that I wanted to take.
But you don't work under the GUSD umbrella?
No, and in fact, people that get elected to the school board are not allowed to be employees of the district. They're not allowed to be teachers in the district.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Where you teach?
I teach in Beverly Hills Unified.
How long?
For about 15 years.
Oh, you've been in the system for some time. You've got a background in education.
Yes.
Now, I assume that being on the school board is a full-time gig. Do you have to quit being a teacher in order to be on the school board? It's not a side hustle, right?
It actually is not a full-time job.
Really?
At least not for most districts. In Los Angeles Unified, which has a lot more students, a lot more things to deal with, that would be a full-time job. But for a district like Glendale and most other districts, it requires time, absolutely, right? But most people that work in these positions have another career that they do. So
you will continue to teach?
Yes.
In Beverly Hills?
Yes.
We had a few questions submitted from people online, and one of them was, how does your experience in special education inform your understanding of general education? Or put another way, how is your background useful on the school board?
Yes. So, working in special education at my school district, I am in constant collaboration and communication with the general education teachers at my school, right? And so, a couple of things that I've realized over the years is that, the type of strategies and supports that we use in special education are just as important in the general education classroom. And so even within general education, there's often students with special needs that need accommodations, different strategies, things like that to help them. And so, because I work with general education teachers on a daily basis, and a lot of times we have the same students, I definitely understand the kind of things, the kind of policies that a school board passes. I'll know from experience whether or not that translates into being a successful program on a day-to-day basis with our teachers. And so, given that experience, I definitely feel that having me on the school board will be something that will be beneficial for not just our educators, our students, but also for the school district itself.
Inclusivity is a major talking point. Do you think that your time spent in special education has given you a kind of radar for inclusivity?
Absolutely. For people that are in the mainstream and don't and have been included their entire lives, it's hard. It could be a little bit harder for them to see. But having the lens of a special education teacher and seeing students that are in that classroom in those environments and seeing what they are included and not included in, it definitely guides the way. And so I think that it is overall very important to make sure that the policies we pass and the decisions that we make has that lens, right, to see like, is everyone truly represented here? Is everyone truly included? Because that makes a difference, and our children, our educators see this, right? And so we have to make sure that this is something that's prioritized.
So I want to talk a little bit about the school board. What is it that a school board does, and why should I care who sits on it?
Within a school district, you have your educators, you have your staff, right? You have your administrators, you have the district administration, and then the superintendent. And so the school board is there to oversee the superintendent, right? And to make decisions on personnel, on policies, things that happen that affect the entire district. And so it's important because what the school board, the makeup of the school board can have a great impact on the type of policies that are passed and implemented within the district, right? Right now, across California, we see the impact of when you have certain board majorities and what they choose to do with their district. Whether it's not allowing certain curriculum to be taught, not allowing certain laws to be implemented and followed, and those have detrimental impacts on their district. And so, for me, I feel like the reason why I want to be in this position, and the reason why it's important for people to be in these positions, is to make sure that we continue to support and implement policy that is inclusive and protects our students and our educators.
How many people sit on the board?
For Glendale, 5.
And how many seats are currently open?
In March, there are 2 seats up for election.
2 seats. And how long are the terms?
4 years.
And can you run for unlimited terms?
Up until recently. Now there is a term limit of up to 3 terms.
How many people, besides yourself, are in the race for those seats right now?
So for Area A, there is 1 other person running. For Area E, there are 2 people running.
That's it?
Yes.
Not many people?
At this point, no.
So here's a question for you. I have kids, so this matters to me. Mm-hmm. Should I only vote if I have kids? How does the school board affect me if I live in the area but don't have kids attending the school? Mm-hmm. Does it affect me? I
think so, and in a lot of different ways. I think it's important for people in this community, whether they have children or not, to vote, because it's going to have a great impact on not just our schools, but on our community in terms of who feels safe living here, who feels included. So I think that anyone who is a community member that cares about the direction that our community is taking, that cares about whether or not this community stands for inclusion, for social justice, and for respect, they need to watch this election closely and make sure that they participate in it, so that we ensure that our city and our school district continues heading down in the right path for our children.
I stream all of the GUSD meetings online. I think it's the best reality show on TV right now. There are no commercials and it's completely free. There's a lot of drama happening down there. Somebody had submitted a question which was, what is your why? And very specifically, why right now? Why are you choosing to run right now? You said you've been here for 8 years. Mm-hmm. Why now? Why this year?
Yeah. So, I've lived in Glendale for about 8 years now, and anytime you're a teacher that lives in any particular district, you're sort of a natural candidate, a natural possible candidate for a school board. And so, not only have I worked as a teacher at a public high school, I've also been involved in my local teachers association. And so from that involvement, I've gotten to know some of the educators that represent Glendale Unified and become friends with them over the years. And so, the conversation has always been there. Hey, maybe one day you can run for the school board. You live in this neighborhood. In the past, it was more of a casual conversation. We already had someone in place, Jennifer Freeman, who's also an educator, a great educator herself, in place. And so it was never taken to a very serious level. We had someone in place. Now, in recent times, especially after she announced that she was not planning on continuing in this path, she was recently hired as a vice principal for Burbank High School. And
good for her.
And then the other thing is, as you alluded to, the recent events that have taken place in the board meetings, where we have somebody who's running who has a very different view on what public education should be. And so that those two things together is what helped my decision. The reason why I went into education in the first place was because I saw education, I saw teaching as sort of my way of making the world a better place. The reason why I'm running for school board is the same reason I became an educator and became a labor leader, is because I want to stand up for those that are being bullied, and I want to do my part to make this world a better place.
So you're here, you're running, you're in the batter's box. A question for you is, do you have specific priorities?
Yes. So the ultimate goal for me is that all of our students, when they graduate from Glendale Unified, that they become, that they achieve success academically and socially, right? That they become independent and critical thinkers and productive members of our society. Like that's the main goal. And I think the way that we make that happen, there are three priorities that I have. The first one is inclusion, racial and social justice. And this, to me, means a lot of different things. It includes making sure that we have smaller class sizes, especially at the upper elementary level.
Interesting.
It means supporting and implementing more green spaces and having more wellness centers in our schools, right? It means making sure that our students, especially our historically marginalized students, feel supported and included, right, in every decision that is made. And it also means that we fully fund special education, right? And we fully fund our dual language immersion programs. The second thing is supporting and investing in our educators. So, in recent months, the educators have seen some increases into their salary, right? And this was after a years-long contentious bargaining process. These increases have put them still in the average range when compared to the rest of public school districts in the rest of Los Angeles County.
Wow.
Right? And so, clearly there's still more work to be done. Glendale is a great district, right? It prides itself on being one of the best school districts and has some of the best schools in our state and beyond. And I think that if we want that to continue to happen, we have to pay our educators accordingly.
Absolutely.
And so, if I serve on the school board, I'm going to continue to stress to the district that when we negotiate, salary has to be a priority, and it has to continue to be a priority until GUSD educators and staff are among the highest paid in Los Angeles County.
I mean, is that how you attract the best person for the job? Is the paycheck has to make sense?
All you have to do, if you're a new teacher, right, and you're looking in this area on where you want to teach, you look at the salary schedule. You look at La Cañada, salary is much higher. You look at Arcadia, relatively close by, much higher. You look at my own district, Beverly Hills, and the difference in salary is in the tens of thousands. And so someone who chooses to work here is going to be working here despite what the salary is, not because of what the salary is. And I think we need to change that. The district has been very lucky in attracting the great educators it has, but we have to do more.
Interesting. You'd mentioned class sizes. One question I have is, how do you reduce class size? It seems to me that you need more teachers, but then that also requires more classrooms. And so is it a financial question?
I think fundamentally it is a financial question, and so between the situation we have now, which like you said, there are certain classrooms, and my daughter's in the 6th grade, and her classroom has a student population in the mid-30s, right? And so there are a couple of steps that can be taken between having a class size like that and having a class size that's maybe closer to the mid-20s or lower. And in between all that, you can have more instructional assistants, right? You can have
aides and stuff.
Right. You can have a partner teacher. Whatever happens, the physical size of the classroom is important as well. But a lot of it comes down to the money, right? The funding and the desire to make that happen. So my point would be that if we're not able to reduce class sizes in those ways, again, we need to increase the salary of our educators because they are working under these challenging conditions, excelling in them despite all these challenges. So one way or another, we have to see something change, either in their salaries increasing or in class sizes being reduced, or both.
This is a great question somebody submitted. There are people who would label you as an extreme leftist, radical liberal, promoting a hidden agenda to indoctrinate our children. Is that true?
No, I think my agenda is very public, right? If you take a look at my website and the things I've said today, I am very open about what it is I want, right? I touched upon the inclusion and racial and social justice. I touched upon investing in our educators, treating them as partners. And the third point is making sure that our communication system is stronger, continues to be strong, and wide-ranging, so that we're able to engage with all of our community. Ultimately, what I want, I think, is what anybody in our community should want for our kids. To support them, no matter who they are and how they identify, right? Making sure that they're supported and healthy and happy. Supporting our educators that are just trying to do their jobs and follow the law. To me, these are not leftist things to do. These are just the right things to do.
Let's talk for a minute about teachers' unions. Mm-hmm. Some people love them, some people hate them. What is the relationship between the school board and the unions?
I think the relationship between the school district and the Teachers Association has definitely improved in recent times. And I think that there is a strong base upon which they can build from this point, because I think it's inevitable. I think in any given district where there's going to be differences in what they feel the salary should be, or certain working conditions, class sizes, prep time, like all of these things are going to be argued all the time. But I think what the last couple of months has shown in our district highlights what we are in, what the agreement is in, right? We agree in upholding democracy. We agree in upholding the law. Mm-hmm. We agree that children are the priority, and we have to protect them, and we have to protect the educators that support them. And so I feel that fundamentally, both sides are in agreement. And now the question as we move forward is just looking at how do we reconcile the different ways in which we want to do the same things.
I've heard people suggest that a teacher, mm-hmm. like yourself, shouldn't be allowed to sit on the school board because it could be considered a conflict of interest when dealing with the teacher unions. Mm-hmm. What would you say to somebody like that?
If they thought that I was a teacher in the district, I mean, that would definitely be a conflict of interest, right? And that's why that's why it's not allowed. I work in a different district, 25 miles away. I'm in this district. My role right now is as a community member and as a parent. And I think that a school board would benefit from the perspective of a parent who and a community member and someone who volunteers in the community as a coach and has an intimate knowledge of how public education works. So I definitely think that it should not be a disqualifier, but it should absolutely be an asset and something that would be beneficial when we work as a school board.
So I'm going to push that a little bit further. Who's funding your campaign, and do you accept donations from special interest groups like the teachers' unions?
Great question. And so as time passes, the list of contributions to my campaign or anybody's campaign is going to be available on the Glendale website, the Glendale election website.
Great.
And so what I can currently tell you is that, first I'll tell you who I don't accept donations from. I don't accept contributions from faceless and mysterious corporate entities, unlike other people in this race. My contribution list, if I had it in front of me right now, would show parents and community members that represent almost every school in Area A, and many elected leaders within our community, right? You asked me if I would accept money from the Glendale Teachers Association. I do. I would, and I have. You mentioned that they have a special interest, right? But I think that their interest, is wanting to protect our children, right, and protecting the educators to support them. And so to me, while this is a special interest in that it's specific to that organization, I think it is an interest that everyone in the community has a commonality with, because I think ultimately, deep down, we share the same interests, and I am proud to be supported by them in this race.
So I want to touch very briefly on this gender ideology conversation that is such a hot topic right now. I think for some people, this is actually the biggest deal on the table, mm-hmm. it seems. Mm-hmm. Students come to school, male, female, whatever. Mm-hmm. They decide, for whatever reason, we're not talking about the why, mm-hmm. they decide to change their name. They decide to update their pronouns. Mm-hmm. some people feel as though it is the teacher's responsibility to inform the parents of these character updates. My understanding, or what I've heard, is that there's some kind of a policy which encourages withholding information from parents. Is this policy real?
Yes, I believe the policy that's being alluded to by the person who asked the question is a policy that is within the Glendale Unified Board Policy, right? Which talks about that in certain situations, that the information about a child's gender, identity, pronouns, things like that, should not be told to the parent, right? The policy goes on to sort of give the reason why, right? And a lot of this is rooted in protecting the child. And so, some people may sort of look at this and say, oh, they're trying to ignore the parents' rights or split up a family, things like that. And that is totally not the case, right? Because the way that I look at this is we have laws about mandated reporting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If a student comes to school and it's visibly obvious, or they report that they're being abused, right? The first thing we do is we let the authorities know. We don't bring it back to the parents as a first step, because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the abuse might be coming from the family, and letting the family know as a first step might further endanger that child, right? And so, for me, in my experience, thankfully, in my experience as a teacher, the students that I know that have identified in different ways from what they were assigned at birth, their families have been very supportive, and it's made all the difference in the world. But unfortunately, we know that there are some places where if parents found out how their children identify, right, it puts them in harm's way. And so this whole policy is about protecting the child, right? It prioritizes the safety of the child over any discomfort that some parents may have. And so I think that in the overwhelming majority of the cases, that parents will know, right? They will know, and the children will feel comfortable telling them. The question to me is, for those that are upset by this policy, are they afraid that, is there something going on where their child is going to be afraid to tell them? And to me, that is the bigger problem.
Why would a child feel compelled to hide that information from their parents?
And sometimes it could just be a matter of time, right? And so, if there's ever a situation where my children feel more comfortable telling something to an educator to their teacher before they do to me, I have to be okay with that, right? I'm not the main character in my child's life, right? They are the main character in their own lives. And so, the most important thing is that they feel safe, they feel happy, right? That takes precedence over whatever comfort, I have to have as a parent.
Does a child have a right to privacy?
Absolutely.
From their parents?
Absolutely. It's tough, but as a parent, yes, we have to respect their right to privacy.
What would you say to a parent who is troubled by this? Someone who, I imagine that how they feel is that they're being left out of a very important conversation that is specifically regarding their child, and they may view it as the well-being of their child.
It's going to be a difficult concept for some people to wrap their heads around, right? We have to shift from centering ourselves, right, in this whole situation, and centering the child. And I think that when we have that, when we use that shift, when we shift to that, right, and we are able to look at things through the perspective of others, right, then this becomes an easier concept for us to wrap ourselves around. I, as a parent, of course, right, deep down, of course, I want to know everything there is to know about my child.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have to recognize they are their own person, right? And before I know it, my 11-year-old is going to be in high school and college and making her own decisions, and I have to be okay with that. That's part of what we have to do as parents. Going back to what it is that I want to achieve for our students in the first place, which is to be independent, be critical thinkers, productive members of society. We want to control them. We want to make sure that that they're successful, right? But this has to be something they do by themselves. All we can do is put them in position to do so.
When can the people come out and vote for you or against you?
So the election day is March 5th. And,
March 5.
Yes, March 5th, 2024.
Okay.
And those who are doing mail-in ballots like myself, the ballots should arrive sometime in early February.
Okay, excellent. And for all the people at home, if they want to learn a little bit more about your campaign, where can they go?
They can go to my website, www.tellytse.com, and they will, if they want to participate or ask questions, all of that is available on the website, and I look forward to connecting with members in our community.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.
You too.
Goodbye.
Bye.